Welcome to the new Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church, for which we will do our third post-pandemic cemetery tour, if these cemeteries could talk. Oh, the stories they would tell. The New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church came out of the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, which was established in 1874 during Reconstruction as one of the early churches in the Register area. In 1908, several members of the New Hope came over and established the New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church. This was at the turn of the century, and just a few years after Reconstruction and the rise of Jim Crow, with the 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson decision, which established the separate but equal doctrine. In this area in Bullock County and around the state of Georgia and in the Southeast, we saw the rise of lynching. We saw the rise of racial discrimination and many other things that the separate but equal doctrine brought on us, that was rectified in 1954 with the United States versus Board of Education decision. In 1904, here in Bullock County, just 4 years prior to the establishment of New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church, Reed and Cato were lynched in Bullock County, and they were burned alive at the stake. This created a lot of turmoil in Bullock County, where many African Americans left. Also in 1901, William McKinley, who was President of the United States, had been assassinated, and Theodore Roosevelt had come into the presidency. So America was at a turning point as we moved into the 20th century. In 1905, the Niagara Movement was founded, which was the precursor to the NAACP, which was founded in 1909 to address a lot of the Jim Crow issues and to deal with the whole issue of lynching that was going on in the South. So in that context, New Bethlehem and other churches were making their mark and their start as they were believing in Christ and believing in the freedom of humanity. As we go into the cemetery today, we will highlight the lives of individuals who lived during that era of terror, and yet they went on to establish their families and the New Hope community. If these cemeteries could talk, oh, the stories they could tell. And Lord knows we have had some stories today. We have seen the connectivity. We've seen the great migration into Bullock County. We've seen the great migration out of Bullock County. And we've seen those souls who stayed and fought the battle, and those who are resting here waiting for that great getting up moment. On the third Saturday of each month, we will be at a different cemetery. Thank you so much, and may God bless all of you. Hello, and welcome to those who are here at the New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church Cemetery, where we will continue our series, If These Cemeteries Could Talk. Oh, the stories they could tell. Now, this is the third in a series that we have been doing since the pandemic, because we stopped for a moment. This is the 19th of the 38 identified African American cemeteries here in Bullock County. Our goal is to visit all of these cemeteries to make a record and survey these cemeteries and create booklets so that future generations will know the importance of our churches, our communities, and our people. We first started this in 2019 to honor the 400th anniversary of African Americans coming to these shores in 1619. The New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church had its origin in 1908. Several members from the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, for which we did last month, which was founded in 1874, came and started a place of worship. They asked a Streeter, who was the first minister, a Mr. Beatty and Mr. Groover, to help in the organization of this church. And Mr. Streeter, Reverend Streeter, was the first pastor. A very interesting history. He was born in 1870, born in Alabama, even though his mother was from Georgia. By the 1900s, he was living in Savannah and was able to participate in the organization of this church. There are other members of note, which include Deacon Sam Parrish, Deacon Henry Summerlin, Deacon B.D. Everett, Deacon Hankerson, and there were lay members as well. Brother H.M. Lanier, Brother Henry Ellis, Brother B.F. Ellis, Sister Mary Parrish, and Sister Lily Denote. These great soldiers and others have been trotting for a long time and building what a beautiful institution they have. We will start our cemetery tour here at the grave of Miss Dilly Everett. Now, Miss Everett was a Summerlin before she married B.D. Everett. The reason I'm here is because she is the first identified burial at the New Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church Cemetery. Miss Everett Miss Summerlin Everett was married to B.D. Everett, who was one of the pioneers in the founding of this church. Now, Mrs. Dilly died around 1916, and Mr. Everett later married Miss Corey Everett Brown, and she was a school teacher and a principal here in the New Hope community. And New Hope is a very important African American community that was started just after slave days in the 1860s. And by 1874, there was a church and a school started in this community, like Willow Hill, which was founded in 1874. I want to talk about Miss Corey Everett Brown because she was a principal and a teacher. And I want to introduce, before we go any farther, some of the members who are present to help facilitate this cemetery tour. And let's go to them. And first of all, we want to introduce you, young lady. They tell me you're related to the Holloways and the Lees.
Yes.
And so I want you to give me your name.
Mary Ethel Bradley.
Mary Ethel Bradley.
Mary Ethel Lee Bradley.
All right, good. And I want you to tell me in a minute, after we introduce everybody else, what you remember about Miss Corey. So you can be thinking about that. Then who do we have here?
James Bradley.
James Bradley.
Yes.
Now, James Bradley is the son of?
Homie and Victoria Bradley.
And they were long-standing members here at New Bethlehem.
Right.
And who do we have next to here?
My name is Victoria Bradley Gibson.
Good. Thank you. And you are related to all that line of Bradleys you're going to be telling us about later. And you?
I'm oldest Buck Oaker Smith, but everybody call me Buck.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
related to the Oglesby, and I guess you would say I'm a bi-member.
All righty. So, Brother Gene is your daddy.
Right.
They call him, what they call him, OC? What?
His name was OC, but they called him Gene.
All righty, good. And then we have our other fair lady on the camera there. What's her name?
Mary Ann Bradley.
Boy, the Bradleys are well represented here.
Those are my daughters.
And these are the daughters of Miss Bradley here, who recently lost her husband and their father. And we will be talking a little bit about that later today. But this is the oldest part of the cemetery, and as I believe, Miss Dilly was one of the first burials here. Now, Miss Dilly came from the Summerlin family, and the Summerlin family is an old family from this area, going back to a Thomas Summerlin, who was born during the era of slavery, and he was married to a Josephine, and they had a number of children, and some of their children are in this line here, going in this direction. In fact, Henry Summerlin was one of them, who had a son named Ralph Summerlin, who at one time married someone in the Willow Hill community. So we had known the Summerlin name for a long, long time. He first married a lady named Ruth Love, who later married James Garfield Hall. Okay, does anyone have any comments on Mrs. Corey? You said you were a student there when she was a principal. She was
At New Hope.
at New Hope. Yes. Tell me what you know more about Miss Corey. I heard she was real strict,
She was.
and you better not blink your eye if you got out of line. They said she would establish order real quick. Now, I know you got a story on Miss Corey.
Yeah, Miss Corey, that was my first teacher principal.
Yes.
And everything. And like you say, she was real strict. But also, you learned your lesson with what she was teaching.
Yes.
And everything. So
I heard she left a mark on you one time.
Oh, yes, she did, on my ABCs. And plus, I had to come home and tell Mama.
Oh,
So
Lord.
that was the second mark. So, believe me, I got her.
In those days, we were allowed to have marks on children
All right.
because discipline was very important
Right.
in the learning process.
It was, and
And-
then it wasn't in the abuse report. It was just part of training to bring it up.
Yes,
It had a limit to it, but
train
They
a
got the
child in the way they should go.
True.
And when they're old, they're not depart. Somebody said that was in the scripture.
yeah.
All right.
All right, so you got anything you want to tell me on Miss Corey?
No, she was a nice teacher.
Yes. Now, is that the very first school you ever went to?
Yes.
Okay. Now, while we are here, let's talk about another Summerlin here, Sarah Smiley. And Sarah Smiley is a centenarian. She was born in 1875 and died in 1979, living nearly 104 years old. Now, at one point, Miss Corey, the principal, and Miss Smiley was living in the same house because I saw that in the census record. She was a senior lady at that time living with Miss Corey. And again, as I said, there is Henry Summerlin there. His dates aren't there, but his son is Ralph Summerlin, and I know that to be a fact. And there were several other Summerlins. Let me see if I have any other Summerlins. Okay, so you had Elizabeth Summerlin, who married a Mincy first and then a William second. Moselle Summerlin married Alfred Lanier. Hester Summerlin married Alex Mincy. Henry Summerlin married Sarah Smiley Summerlin. So this Sarah actually married Henry. So this was husband and wife, and that was a son there. And Dilly Summerlin we met down there is the one who married Bedford Everett. And Modi married Duncan McLeod, and Cassie married a Smith. So this is a little bit of the lineage of the Summerlin family. Now let's go over and review the Bradley family, and we have several members here, and we want them to help us out. And in the meantime, I see here we have some Johnson, Bertha Johnson, who was a Smith, who married Freeman Johnson. And these are some long-standing, this whole section here is the Johnson family. Shine Buck Johnson, Sarah Page, related to the Johnson, Kelly Johnson, and Lizzie Johnson. Okay, all of these are connected in the family. So let's go talk about the Johnsons over here. And we're going to wait because we're going to start with Benjamin Bradley. That's a good place to start. And these are your parents. Is that correct?
No,
These are your parents.
that's
These
my
two-
father, and Mary Ethel is my mother here.
That's me.
Okay, so this is your father.
That's
Right,
correct.
Benjamin Bradley.
Okay.
Benjamin Bradley, who was born in 1933, deceased March 3rd, 2020. He was the last Bradley that we buried out here. And Benjamin Bradley had 4 children, Gregory, Marianne, Victoria, and Gloria.
Everybody's on the front.
And he had 5 grandchildren, Brandon, Diana, Elisa, DeAndre, and Brianna, and 1 great-granddaughter, Heaven.
Okay.
And that next grave here.
Okay, now so Mary Ethel Lee is this lady
Yes,
here
that's my mother who's going to be buried
who
right next to
is
him.
related to the Holloways
Yes.
That's correct.
up around the Willow Hill community
Right.
in Meta, Georgia.
Right.
Jess Holloway
Right.
is brother to your mother.
Right.
All right. And then OC was your
Father.
father. OC. All right, Lee. Okay, very good. And it's really interesting how we make these connections. Now let's move down the line and tell us who Frank Bradley is,
James.
Bertie Mae Roberts Bradley. Who knows this?
Uncle James.
All right, sir.
Frank, that's one of my brothers.
Frank is your
Frank
brother.
Bradley, yes. And Bertie Mae Roberts Bradley is his wife.
Was his wife.
Yes.
And where was she from, the Roberts? They were from around this area?
I don't really know.
You don't remember where they
I know she
from?
used to live with Mr. James, but I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, how are you related to Benjamin?
Brother.
Okay, so
His
Benjamin
brother-in-law.
is your brother,
Brother-in-law.
No, brother.
brother,
Oh, brother. Oh.
and then Frank
Benjamin.
is
Oh.
your brother.
Oh, I see.
Okay, now does anybody know who Willie B. Williams is?
That's my uncle.
Deacon Willie B. Williams.
Yeah.
Now, he married Matilda Bradley.
That's correct.
Okay, Matilda Bradley is your sister,
Right.
Correct.
and that is your aunt.
No,
That's,
me? No, that's my
Yeah,
sister.
That's your
my
sister,
aunt.
too. That's your
Sister-in-law.
aunt.
My
Okay.
sister-in-law.
All right, we getting it together here. All right. So, any stories about any of these, let us know. Homie Bradley, this is a junior. All right, is that your brother too?
Yes.
And okay, and your parents are over there, right?
No, they're right on this line.
They're right down this line. All right, good. So this is Homer Bradley Jr.
Uh-huh.
And who is Mary Helen Bradley Bacon?
That's my sister.
That's your sister.
Yeah.
And she married what Bailey? What Bacon?
I don't know. That was back in the 50s when
All
she
right.
married to him.
So this is your
But I don't
sister.
know.
Did all of them go to New Hope School?
Not St. Paul and
Some of them went to St. Paul's School.
Yeah.
We have a picture up at Willow Hill of St. Paul, which was a 2-story lodge.
Yeah.
You remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, but it was a 2-story lodge. Sometime y'all got to come and look at some of the collections we have there. Who is Whit Bradley?
That's my brother also.
That's your brother. So you have a whole line as your family.
Yes.
What
yes.
about Elizabeth Bradley Jones?
Sister.
And then, did she marry the Jones over at New Hope?
Yes.
That's the same Jones family.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now, so here is your mom and daddy.
Right.
Homie, born in 1895,
1895.
died in 68.
Yes.
And he married Eula V. Gordon from Scriven County, Georgia.
Right.
All right, now tell me about Homie Bradley. Did y'all break curfew and he was waiting at the door for you?
Yes. Oh yeah.
They didn't play back there, did
No,
they?
he didn't. He had some ground rules.
Uh-huh.
Uncle
That-
James, tell him how many children Granddaddy had.
It was 13 of us.
13 children.
Yeah, 13
So
of us.
you can see the Bradley's home was very busy,
Oh yeah.
and they had to work real hard to feed a lot of mouths.
Yeah, work hard and played hard.
Yes. Now,
Yeah.
do you know very much about the Gordons? Those were your mama's people.
I knew them, but I didn't grow up around them.
I
too much.
see.
But in the later days, I got to know my uncles,
Okay.
and they were church going people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about Lizzie Bradley Gordon? Who is this?
Grandmama.
This is your grandmother.
Yes.
This is your, so this is your father or mother's mother? This is your father's
That's
mama.
mother's mother.
This is your mama's mama.
Uh-huh.
And she died in 28. You know when she was born?
No, we couldn't find. I couldn't find.
I was trying to figure that out. And Reverend William Sr. Gordon was one of the ministers we included on the program once I saw that out here. Do you know anything about where he pastored? What churches?
No, I don't. I've heard everybody say he was a great Sunday school teacher, but I didn't hear anything about no pastoring.
Yeah, well, we got a reverend in front of his name, so
Yeah.
I figured he
Yeah.
read the scripture somewhere.
Yeah, he did.
All right, anybody know any? He's right next to another minister of the gospel, Reverend Lloyd Daniels. Who know who that is?
That was my daddy's best friend. That's
Your
how I-
daddy's best friend.
First cousin.
And
First cousin.
And first cousin.
And they first cousins?
Yes, sir.
Now, how are they first cousin on the mama or daddy side?
On the mother's side.
On the mother's side.
His mom and their mom was sisters.
Okay, now his mom, do you remember what her name was?
Bertha.
Bertha Daniels.
Bertha Murray.
She was a Murray,
Daniel, right.
She was
Murray
married-
Daniels.
Right.
And Bertha was sister to whom?
Victoria, my mother.
Victoria
Yeah.
was a Murray?
No, Victoria Gordon Bradley.
Okay, how they be sisters? Help me out a little bit.
Gordon. It was Gordon's.
Oh, they were Gordon before she was married.
Right.
Okay, good. Anybody know about Nellie Gordon Chapel and Susie Mae Houston? Anybody know who these are?
Nellie Gordon was another sister of my mother.
This is your mama's sister.
Right.
1900, 1978. What about Susie Mae Houston?
That's a grand girl
That's a grand girl.
of Nellie.
Okay, now when I look at the line just ahead of us, I see a whole bunch of Murrays and Gordon. So these are all part of the same family, true?
Right.
Now, so is Zeddy Gordon, who is that?
Zebedee Gordon.
Who is that?
That's an uncle.
That's one of your uncles?
Yeah. My
That's-
mother's brother.
Your mama's brother? Or what about Willie Mae Gooden? I guess that's who he married her, right?
Right.
Okay, what about Eugene Murray? Who is that?
Eugene Murray was married to my aunt.
Aunt Bertha?
Yeah, Bertha.
Bertha Gordon.
Brother Gordon Murray.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then here we got Mildred Daniels. Are these connected to the Gordons and the Murrays?
Yeah.
And then you got Tammy Goodman Clark. These are young people.
Yeah. Tammy's
How are they related?
To Miss Willie Goodman?
yeah, she was raised in Miss Willie Goodman.
She was related to Miss Willie Goodman.
Related to Willie Goodman. And now we have Carolyn Pittman. She's related to the family also?
Yeah.
That's Bertha Murray's daughter.
Bertha Murray's daughter. Okay, now
These two. Mildred.
both of these are the daughters.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. So this is a recent burial here
Right.
in 2023.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody know who this very, very old grave here that is unmarked?
No, I don't.
But anytime you see the bricks around a grave like that, we know it to be very old.
Right.
Now, over here are the Wigfalls. Anybody know anything about them? I want to get this group over here. Maybe we should go over here first. Because this is the Hendricks over here, right?
Right.
Now, out here, someplace is an unmarked grave. What's Miss Hendricks' first name?
Margie.
Margie Hendricks. And the reason I want to bring attention, somewhere in this expanse is her grave, and she sang with Ray Charles.
Right.
She was Ray Charles. However, she was Carl Hendricks' sister, and Carl Hendricks was a noted singer himself, wasn't he? And so the Hendricks was a whole family of singers, and somewhere in this area, and God rest her soul, and it was intentional by family members that they wanted her grave to be unmarked. So in the spirit, we thank you for the legacy you've done. Now, there is the Hendricks family is a very interesting family, and I had been doing some research on the Hendricks family, and they came from a Littleton Hendricks. He was born in 1818 during the era of slavery, and he was a member of the White Deloach Primitive Baptist Church. Found his names on the records there. But he had lots and lots and lots of children. In fact, a long time ago, you could do a whole farm with a family. And so what's interesting is he had a daughter born during slavery in 1855, Louisa Hendricks, and she had a son, Albert Hendricks, who was the carpenter for the Willow Hill School years ago when they used to have the wooden buildings. Albert Hendricks married Ann James Hodges of the Willow Hill community, and they established a family there. So in other words, the Hendricks originated in this area. The roots were stretched long and hard. And there were others like Charlie Hendricks, Andrew Hendricks, Ellen Hendricks, Thomas Hendricks, Randall Hendricks, Amos Hendricks, Littleton Hendricks Jr., Peter Hendricks. There was a whole bunch of those Hendricks that married into other families. In fact, Louisa Hendricks married into the Harvey family, and many of them are buried at the old Mount Pisgah Primitive Baptist Church Cemetery. Littleton Hendricks himself is buried in Evans County. And so all of these folk that originated in this area, and all these Hendricks here are lineage of Littleton Hendricks, born during slavery time in 1818, who married a Margaret. Now, does anyone know anything about any of these folk here, Hamp, Lockhart, or any of these other Hendricks?
Not really.
Okay, this one is Renzi Hendricks, and Renzi Hendricks, I believe, married Katie McNeil, right?
Right.
And this Renzi, born in 1890, goes back to Andrew Hendricks, which goes back to Littleton Hendricks. That's what I was talking about. That was the sort of the grandfather of all of this. Here is a person who served in the military, John H. Mincy, served in Vietnam, and we always want to give recognitions to our soldiers and our enslaved individuals. We have another one over here that was in the United States Air Force. He married Ruby Mason. His name was Walter Mason, served in the United States Air Force. And those who served during our country, we love to remember them and give honor to those who risked their lives for the protection of our freedom. And here is Willie Lewis Mincy, a recent burial here. All right, now the rest of the Hendricks are up that way. Carl Hendricks. We have some Densons here. Do you know anything about the Densons? The Denson family. Do you know anything about any of them?
Not too much.
Not too much. The McNeils, we talked about them, connected to the Hendricks. The Butlers, Lou Hendricks, Leemore McNeils, all of these are related. And here Charlie Holloway is related to your family. This is Charlie Holloway married Janie McNeil, so the McNeils connect into the Holloway also. And I want to get over here. These are other Hendricks. There's Cecil Hendricks, who served in the military. Robert L. Holloway. These are related to your people, related to the Lees, O.C. Lee's wife, Ethel Lee, who was from the Holloway lineage. There's Lemuel Hendricks, Beatrice Hendricks, but I wanted to get to Carl Hendricks here. And Carl Hendricks was the sister of Miss Hendricks that we were talking about earlier, who sang with Ray Charles. He was a noted singer in the area and sang at a lot of people's funerals. Mr. Carl Hendricks. I used to read his name so many times in different funeral programs. All right, now next we're going to go up and talk about the Oglesby. All right, come on down. And while we're waiting, we have another Frank Reed in the United States Air Force, served in both Korea and Vietnam. Born in 32, died in 2012. May your spirit rest in peace, and thank you for the sacrifice you made for our country. All right, Mr. Oglesby, tell us, this is your people here.
Those are my people. That's Daddy to the left. O.C. Gene Oglesby, nicknamed Gene, was what we call a pot water, short water logger. My mother, Emma Oglesby. And we wound up in this community by way of, actually, Daddy's actually out of Lexington, Georgia. Lexington, Georgia, Stillmore.
Yes.
We lived in Bromley for a little while and then moved here. Mm-hmm. Mama wound up in Meadow, Georgia, out of Carolina with my grandma, Patty Mae.
Came out of Carolina.
If whatever issue it was, they left Carolina and they gave out the gas in Meadow. And that's
gave out the gas in Meadow, Georgia.
That's how they got it.
And that's how they end up being there.
And Pulaski.
Had enough gas to get there, huh?
Uh-huh.
That's a good story there. Yeah. And look like we got some babies here.
Those are my sister's babies. Katie, Justin, that's to the left, and the other one, I forget his name. She never did mark yet.
Yes.
You know.
Just lived just the one day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And gone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yet you didn't have a life, but by your marker there you are remembered. Yes. Because you were one of God's creation. Mm-hmm. And we remember your spirit and your soul, and the one unmarked there, we remember you as well. Now here's a recent grave here. This is your brother.
That's my brother next to me. We call him Shug. His name is Artist.
Artist.
We call him Shug. Yeah.
He just buried last year.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, how many siblings you have left?
8.
All righty. So we're going to go this way and then circle back around. And here we have graves of the Sharps. Now, Miss Earlene Sharp first married a Williams, didn't she? Miss A. Sir, Mr. Oglesby. Miss Earlene Sharp, Mr. Lester is her second husband, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
Her first husband was a Williams?
Right.
Okay, and this is, do you know what her maiden name was? Yes.
Her first husband was a Michael.
Was a Michael, so related to the Michaels family.
Right.
Okay, Quentin Michael and all that group.
Right.
Okay, so she was Earlene Michael, married a Williams. Now, is it related to those Williams at New Hope Cemetery? There's a whole bunch of Williams that came out of Garth Williams, who was the white slave owner who had a black family. And a lot of those Williams there are connected to that Bob Garth Williams family. Okay. All right. So y'all sit there. Now over here we have Miss Grace Huff, and she was related to the Huff family. Right. And what was her brother's name?
Ben Jr. Huff.
Ben Jr. Huff.
Well, Austin Huff. We call him Ben Jr.
Yes. And then she's just recently buried here herself, and
right.
she married Edward Williams.
Right.
Now, are these Williams connected to Earlene Williams Sharp?
I don't. Are they? Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Do you know how they're connected? They what?
His mother and daddy. Erlene's mother, grandmother, and our Edward.
So Erlene's grandmother and Edward's something there's some connectivity there. And married into Grace Huff, and there are a lot of Huffs. I know Miss Pearl Huff. This is a member of her family. This is her sister, and she was Miss Pearl Huff for a very long time was the NAAC Bullock County president, and has done quite a bit of work. And this is her sister, Grace Huff.
Right.
Okay, and we pay respect to you, Miss Huff. The Huff is a very, very large family in Bullock County. Now, okay, we're going to go over and talk about the Michaels. And that's a large family, too. There's a lot of Michaels over at New Hope. And so in this section here, I see a Grace Donaldson Garrick Donaldson that married into the Michaels family, and looked like the Wilsons and the Michaels all married into the families, and the patriarch and matriarch goes back to Quentin Michael and Juanita. Anybody know Juanita's maiden name?
No, I never did know her maiden.
Okay, so all of this lineage here are the children. You have Callie, Ulysses, Robert, Gloria Michael Bird, Lewis. And now these look like grandchildren here, Willie Jerome Michael and Jamie Michael Jr. And they are twins?
Those are grandkids.
Oh, these are grandkids. Okay. And then we got a little baby here. Brooklyn Lenore Michael Williams lived just one day. A little baby. And may the spirit of little babies, which I call angels, may the spirit circulate and bring peace to the earth. And so, and here's a fresh grave. I'm not sure who this is. And anybody know who Linda Robinson and Willie P. Robinson? Willie P. is still alive. Who is Linda? She was a Donaldson, I believe.
Yes.
She was a Donaldson?
Right.
Yes. Okay. And then there's some McNeese there. So I think we've covered, no, these are some Armstrongs here, aren't they? I can't read that. What does that say?
That's like
Veronica
Wigfall.
Veronica Wigfall. Is she
That's
related
Thelma
to
Lee's
Armstrong?
Yes, I wrote.
That look like Thelma Armstrong.
This is her daughter.
This is Robert.
Robert
This was
Armstrong.
husband and wife
This is her
and daughter.
Okay, now, so what is his name?
Robert.
Robert Armstrong married Thelma Armstrong. Do you know what she was before she married him?
She was a Wigfall.
She was a Wigfall. And this is their, Veronica Wigfall is their child?
Yes.
Of the, okay. And then we have Eddie Wigfall.
That's Thelma's brother.
Okay, and then we got Kenneth Wigfall and Catherine Wigfall.
That's the mother and father.
They born in 1916.
That's Thelma's mother and father.
That's Thelma's mother and father, Kenneth Sr. Okay. Now the Wigfalls, let's see. They came out of Thomas Wigfall, who married Josephine Mincy.
Right.
And Josephine's parents, no, Josephine came from March Mincy and the Summerlands. So here again is that Summerland connection is coming back. And Thomas Wigfall and Josephine had Frank, DeWitt, Elizabeth, Estella, Carrie Mae, look like Kearns, TJ, AJ, Vina, and Chester Arthur, name for a president. Name after president. Ain't that something? A lot of time they used to name after president. I tell folks you can find a deceased president in almost every cemetery. All right, who is this Leola Mincy Williams?
You know who that is, don't you, Jane?
Who is that?
What was Edward's father's name? What was Edward's father's name?
Edward.
Edward William, father. He married again. This is his wife.
We call him Bethlehem.
Okay, this is his wife,
This is his second wife.
his second wife, Leola Mincy Williams.
Right.
Now this is the Davis. You can't see their graves because of the trees here. Y'all know Susie Mae Davis? Anybody know her? This is her family here. Susie Davis died in 2000.
That's they call them the Glasgow family.
In the Glasgow family?
Yes.
All right, so all of this looks like Davis family. Here is somebody of interest, Jimmy LaCarlos Maven, a baby child born in October, died in December 77, born in October 77. May you rest in peace, little child. May your spirit lingers and bring goodness to the earth. These are the Jacksons. Anybody know anything about Emmanuel Jackson? And
Yes.
who are they?
But my next door neighbors.
They were your next door neighbors?
Yes. My
Now-
next door neighbor.
Now, are they related to Charlie
I
Jackson?
don't know. 'Cause
Okay,
I don't know. I can't.
but he was your neighbor.
Yes.
Okay, and then this, let's see, there's Hubert John Henry. Anybody know anything about
Susie
him?
Jackson with the wife.
Huh?
Susie Jackson with the wife.
Okay, this is the wife. Okay. Anybody know who this is? Now, this one is a soldier here. This one is Henry L. Henry, born in 1921, died in 1955.
That was Miss Susie's brother.
This is Miss Susie's brother,
Susie Jackson's.
Susie Jackson's brother.
Brother.
Now, do you know who Annie L. Nixon is?
I did know.
In-law Nixon.
She was related to
Who's she related
your
to?
family, right?
Yeah, she was
Mom Biggs was they were cousins
Cousin to who?
with his mom. Bradley.
To the
To
Bradley.
the Bradley.
Okay, good. Now let me see over here. I think we missed this section here. We got Hubert John Henry. Jewel, you know the Brunsons? Here are the Brunsons.
Uncle Jim, you know the Brunsons?
That's
How are they related?
Brentford.
Are they related to any of you all? This is the Michaels and the Wilsons. They all connected back to those Michaels we talked about already. Clinton Michael and Amy Lee Michael. Is Amy Lee related to you?
No.
Different Lee, huh? And then we have the whole Sam Wilson and Bertie Wilson.
Birdie, they were husband and wife.
They husband and wife. And I suspect this is a Wilson.
Amy Lee and Clinton, their husband and wife.
They husband and wife, and they all must be connected
related.
into the same group here. Okay. All right, now these are the Joneses. Anybody know anything about these folk here? Dorothy Mincy, Hosey Mincy, George Mincy. Anybody know anything about any of them? Melrose Perkins. Now, Melrose Perkins, born in 1897. I believe Melrose was a Mincy, wasn't she?
I don't know. Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe she might have been a Mincy. And this one is Rosalie Perkins Pittman. And those Perkins came out of North Carolina, because I remember seeing that. And so we're going to conclude with the Johnson family here, and also more of the Wiggs Falls in that particular area. So is there anybody you wanted to mention that we may have missed? This is the Purcells. You know the Purcells?
Yes, I knew some of them.
Gladys Purcell, Deacon Edward James Purcell.
I just knew the lady Gladys.
Yes. Now here is a lady, Lula S. Lanier, born in 1885 and died in 1920. And you can tell by how the bricks are around her grave. This is in the older part of the cemetery, and these were some of the first burials in the cemetery. But anyway, I know these to be the earlier burials. 1916 was the first, 1920 was some of the early, and all of them are going to be in this area. And this over here is the Wigg Falls. I think we talk about Josephine Wigg Fall, and Thomas Wigfall. I think I mentioned their names earlier. All of them are related. Here's another soldier, Roy E. Wigfall, connected to another soldier right next door. Roy was in the U.S. Army, World War II. And this is James Wigfall, born in 47, died in 98. So we got two soldiers from the Wigfall family, descendants of Josephine, I believe she was a Mincy, and Thomas Wigfall. Okay? And I believe that covers most. These are the Hobbs. I see a few Hobbs here. And then there's Estella Wigfall. And so
Stella Wigfall was one of the daughters.
this was one of the daughters. Okay, and then Bonnie Nell Ellis,
She was one of the grandchildren.
one of the grandchildren of the Wigfalls. Well, we want to thank all of you for visiting with us today as we walked over the cemetery at the new Bethlehem Primitive Baptist Church. I want to thank all of the participants who came out and worked with us, those who operated the camera. Especially want to thank you, my fair lady with the pretty skin. You were so helpful. Mr. Bradley, we thank you. Mr. Oglesby, we thank you. And granddaughter, we thank you as well. On the third Saturday of next month, we will be at the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church. So please pass the word and come out, because this register area has some prominent churches at the New Hope School, at the St. Paul's School, and it was just one grand community. And so please come and join us, and thank you so much for participating with us today, and we will see you next month. Thank you.